it was so bad at Harvard that the most discriminated group are Asians. And an Asian in the top 1% of the SAT scores in your high school GPA had a lower chance of getting into Harvard. So at the very top, they're basically in the 100th percentile, the top of the top decile, had a lower chance than an African American who was below the halfway point in the 40th percentile. And, a white student had a lower chance at the very top than an African American around the 50th percentile. And the way they really did at Harvard is they would take these school results and then they would ask students to do a little personality test. And this is going to shock you, Peta, but apparently no Asian has an acceptable personality because they all scored terribly on the personality tests. Some of them weren't done in person.
Yeah,
they just knew you had a bad personality because you were Asian. And so the group that was getting slaughtered were Asians. And so, they have every right. It wasn't whites who were doing the worst under Harvard and these diverse things. It is a direct attack on the idea of meritocracy. And the Supreme Court said, we're going to try to put a stop to this.
James, so hearing you there, do you think we're going to get an extension of this beyond the college campus? Are we going to get a revision of the way boards are selected or the way that companies hire against diversity criteria? Is it going to flood out into corporate America, do you think?
Well, firstly, you have to be careful. One Supreme Court decision does not end this. Let's be clear about that. Harvard and all these universities will bend over backwards to avoid this. I mean, many U.S. universities have already said they're just going to end SAT scores. So here's the irony. You have these elite universities, some of the best in the world, and they will no longer look at student scores. They will do anything to keep this going. And so if you think this is like a giant super tanker, trying to turn it around is very difficult. It'll take years of litigation and many more Supreme Court decisions. This is just a start. There won't be any noticeable difference for a while. As for how it's permeated out into the wider sort of corporate world, well, you know as well as I do that HR departments and the big sort of law firms and corporate HR departments are some of the most woke, most focused on group identity, critical race theory. It's already permeated out there. I mean, if you want to pick the worst place, go into a big Sydney law firm you better have your pronouns stuck on your chest somewhere, because some of those big law firms are about as bad as it gets. And if you think that future judges are going to be better than today's judges, you just don't understand what legal education is in today's law schools around the Anglosphere. It's only going to get worse.
I tell you what, we'll watch it closely. James Allan, thank you. That was such a good rundown. Appreciate your time.